clap, snap. Hey everybody, how we all doing today? Tekking and Barry back again. Before we get into today's topic, I wanted to pose a question to you all. Now, this is a question that I am going to attempt to answer later on in the video, but for right now, just keep this question in the back of your mind to sort of ruminate upon, to ponder it as you would. This works especially well if you have a beard, because then you can stroke your beard while you ponder, which I feel like gives a +10 to any sort of pondering question. That's why all the geniuses in the world have beards, you know what I mean? Exactly. That's how it works. It's like, yes, I could stroke my beard while listening to the questions. I don't have a beard. I can't, so it's just, I can do it, but it's just not as efficient, okay? Anyway, here is the question. The question is thus. What makes a character strong in the One Piece world? All right, you got that? Now, clarifying the question a little bit, I don't mean in, like, the fourth wall sense, like Oda making a character, like Oda's sitting there at his desk, like, what makes Robin a strong character? No, I don't mean that. I also don't mean in, like, why does this character have a strong moral conviction to their cause? No, I mean this extraordinarily literally. What makes a character strong? Like, what makes Luffy strong enough to go into Snake Man and just zip around and punch people really hard in the face, okay? You know, Robin is a very strong female character, but I also mean, like, not in an allegorical sense. I mean, like, Robin can turn into a giant demon lady and crush you, like, a lot, you know? So that's what I'm talking about here. Like, what makes a character strong in One Piece? All right, so just hold that off on the back burner for now. We'll get back to it, but now let's focus on Crocodile, all right? So this is something I see that comes up, you know, every now and then in One Piece, and I wouldn't call it a nitpick. Rather, I would say that, like, Oda has a plan to maybe not, like, go into great detail with this, but maybe, like, reference it later. Here's the basic situation, all right? Crocodile, one of the first major villains of One Piece. In fact, you could argue he was the first major villain, the overarching villain. I guess you could say Arlong for the East Blue, but Crocodile was able to actually beat Luffy. You know, Luffy had some trouble with Arlong. He struggled a little bit, but at the end of the day, Luffy was able to battle axe Arlong right into the ground, okay? Luffy had to fight against Crocodile 3 times before he finally managed to beat him down, all right? Crocodile won the first fight with very minimal effort. The second fight, a little bit more even with Mizu, Luffy, and everything like that, but, you know, Crocodile was still able to beat him. And then finally, the third battle in the crypt is where Luffy finally just punched him out. Gumu Gumu no Storm, one of the most epic. You got the 1812 Overture playing in the background as Luffy's, like, pummeling the crap out of Crocodile. All right, so Crocodile goes down, just defeated, rounded up, tossed in level 6, Impel Down. All right. And that was pretty much it for a while. And then we meet him again during the Impel Down arc when they're breaking out and everything like that. You go to Marineford. And then after that, him and Daz Bones, Mr. One, just kind of go off into the new world together. We don't really see much about him, okay? Until recently, when all of a sudden Crocodile, oh, he's back, baby. Not just as he's back with a vengeance. Dude has like a 1.9 billion berry bounty, which is insane. And he is a major player on the world stage now. Okay, so the question that gets brought up, and tying it back to the initial question, is, you know, how the hell did Crocodile get that strong? You know, Luffy, pre-time skip Luffy, without gear 2nd or gear 3rd, was able to beat the crap out of Crocodile. Yes, granted, it took Luffy a couple of tries. He didn't do it on the first try, but still, pre-time skip Luffy, without gear 2nd or gear 3rd, by himself. I mean, okay, arguably by himself, because Robin made sure Luffy didn't die the first time, and then later on, Robin tried to, like, attack Crocodile. But for the most part, yeah, it was, you had Pell helping him out with, like, airdropping Luffy with the water tank, so you had some of that, sure. But for the most part, it was a one-on-one fight between Luffy and Crocodile, and on the 3rd try, he beat him, okay? Crocodile didn't have Haki at this point, so I guess that's the question. And it's also something that extends to some other characters, such as, like, you know, Boa Hancock as well. Although with Boa, I think it makes more sense because we didn't really get a full display of her, like, physical power, you know, during Amazon Lily. We know her ability is really powerful, but, like, I think a lot of people were just like, oh, that's the reason that Boa is a warlord, because, you know, she has the power to petrify people, and that's, like, the only thing she has going for her, okay? No, Boa has, like, Conqueror's Haki. Boa is, like, legitimately powerful. So that's that's the overall question. We're going to be using Crocodile as sort of like an example here, but like in the bigger picture of things, we have characters from earlier in the story showing up now way later in the story where the Straw Hats have gotten so much stronger, and it's like, okay, well, it's okay when the Straw Hats get absurdly strong after 2 years, but like Crocodile and Mr. One, like Mr. One shouldn't even be a problem anymore. Oh no, Mr. One got stronger too. Mr. One's, I guarantee, next fight we see with Mr. One, he's gonna armament hockey up those blades and shred the crap out of whoever he's fighting, okay? So, that's the question. What makes a One Piece character strong? Now, many of you out there, my astute viewers, might be like, oh, that's an easy one, Tekking. Plot armor. It's easy. The Straw Hats are the main characters. Of course, Oda's gonna give them all of the buffs and the training, and of course they're gonna get stronger. That works for the main characters. You don't do that. Next thing you know, Gaimon will be showing up, and Gaimon will like, I've been training, I'm ready to go, and he rips himself out of his chest, and he's like super buff, and he's just like, yeah, I'm here to help you, Luffy. Okay. So I will answer the question now, all right? It happened a little bit earlier in the video than I thought it would. I thought we weren't going to get to the answer on the question until like the 20-minute mark, but here we are. And it's a pretty simple answer to the question, honestly, and it's a running theme throughout the story, and we'll dive into that here. What makes a character strong? Motivation, ambition. Haki, I guess, could also be, because haki is literally ambition in Japanese. So there's like a lot of ties into that, okay? So I talked about this a lot with Buggy, but what I did not realize was how this applies to a lot of other characters other than Buggy. In fact, you can apply this this principle to Buggy as well as Crocodile, and even Mihawk. That's right. Crocodile and Mihawk joining up with Buggy, I don't think is just supposed to be like some comedic routine for Oda. Like Oda's sitting there like, oh, it would be really funny if Crocodile and Mihawk, these two really powerful characters, join up with Buggy. Oh, the hilarity, what would ensue? No, I think there's a really concrete thematic reason why that happened, okay? So if you look at Buggy's character really quick, Buggy was on Gold D. Rogers' crew. Buggy has a devil fruit that is honestly not that weak. It's a pretty decent devil fruit, all things considered, right? You got to imagine, like, if Buggy would have joined up with Shanks, if Buggy would have stayed on the Grand Line, if he would have trained really hard, if he would have learned hockey back in those days, he might be on the level of Shanks right now if things would have went differently. But that's not what Buggy did. Buggy, I mean, he felt betrayed by Shanks, but at the end of the day, Buggy retreated into the east, built up his own little crew, and was complacent. He was complacent in being where he was. He's like, I'm going to be in this little corner of the east. I'm not even going to try to take over the East Blue. I'm happy in my own little area, going around, ravaging random towns, having big banquets, doing circus performances, and all that kind of stuff. I love how in the live action they have Buggy's character, like, taking the residents of Orangetown and chaining them up in his tent and force them to, like, laugh and applause at his show. That is something you could see Buggy doing, you know what I mean? So that was what Buggy was. Buggy didn't want to get, like, he didn't try to get stronger. He didn't try to do that. And this is perfectly exemplified in the recent chapters when we saw the Cross Guild, when Buggy was, like, talking to all of his constituents, so to speak. He was talking to all of the people Buggy's delivered, and he's just like, hey, remember back when you set out to sea, there was that fire, that spark in you to find the One Piece, but then after you realized how scary the Grand Line was, and how even scarier the New World was, and all these other really strong pirates, and the Yonko, and the Marines, and the Warlords, a lot of pirates, that spark was like, was just like, blown out or whatever. It's just like, oh, well, I guess we can't find the One Piece. It's just not going to happen, okay? And losing that ambition and drive is what leads you to stagnate. It's what leads you to not get stronger, to not learn hockey, okay? And like I said, this is very obvious with Buggy, because he retreated back to the east and he just stayed there pretty much his entire life for like decades. Buggy and Shanks are like in their early 40s right now. In fact, I think they're both 39 years old. They're both the same age, okay? So they're all about 40 years old, and you could see the example with Shanks, who never got complacent. Shanks was like, no, I'm going to take time to build up my crew, but then I'm heading out. Like, if Shanks if Shanks would have like done what Luffy wanted and Luffy was like, oh, Shanks, don't leave, Fuchsia, just stay here. If Shanks was just like, oh, okay, Luffy, we'll just stay in the village, you know, it's like Shanks wouldn't be nearly as strong as he is now. He wouldn't be a Yonko. He'd be hanging out in the East with Luffy all the time. You know what I mean? Like, that's that. You know, sure, Shanks could be like, you know, a big brother, you know, like figure to Luffy and everything like that, but, you know, Shanks wouldn't be as strong, right? You got to keep moving. You got to keep advancing. You got to keep moving forward, okay? Advance, Ichigo. Never look back. You know, that's a Bleach reference, but it works, okay? Crocodile, same deal. Crocodile really motivated initially, went out to sea, trying to become the king of the pirates, trying to find the One Piece, got the ever-loving crap beat out of him by Whitebeard, and then what did he do? What did Crocodile do after suffering that massive defeat by Whitebeard? Did Crocodile, like, get right back up on his horse and just like, all right, I might have lost, but I'm not going to let that discourage me. I'm going to keep moving forward, back into the new world. I'm going to train really hard, and then I'm going right back into the new world. No. Crocodile was like, you know what? Okay, I'm going to set up a criminal organization. Probably going to keep it mostly to the first half of Paradise, because that part of the ocean I can kind of handle. He retreated. He retreated. That's what Crocodile did. He's like, okay, the new world is scary and it's powerful. Now, Crocodile himself would not admit that. Like, I'm scared of the new world. I don't want to fight Whitebeard again. But I think that was the case. He wouldn't have admitted it, but that was the case. So he's like, okay, what part of the world can I, like, what level is the world at where I could be really strong, okay? I was like, first half of the Grand Line, Paradise side, near Reverse Mountain. That part I could dominate. So that's what he did. He retreated. Now, Crocodile would be like, oh, no, I didn't retreat. I'm setting up a criminal organization, Baroque Works, and I'm going to build up power, and I'm going to become a warlord, and I'm going to manipulate the government from the inside, and I'm going to find Pluton, you know, the Utopia Project, and then I'm going to go back to the New World, you know? So he would frame it like he wasn't, you know, retreating or complacent, but I think he was, because he didn't know hockey back then, and he was just like he wasn't really training at all. Now, he had, you know, his experience from fighting earlier in his life, so he wasn't weak by any metric, but it's just he could have become stronger and even stronger still. There was still room for him to grow, but he decided to instead do that. He's just, I'm going to hang out and gather strength in numbers and see what happens, okay? And we saw what happened. Luffy and the Straw Hats devastated Baroque Works, okay? So it could have went a completely different way. Instead of going off and trying to do all these side quests and build up Baroque Works, Crocodile, he could have hit the gym, man. He could have gotten the crap beat out of him by Whitebeard, probably lost the hand in the process, and been like, I'm not going to let that discourage me. I'm going to go away for several years, and I'm going to train, and I'm going to lift, and I'm going to consult various, like, masters of hockey or someone. I'm going to find someone out in the mountains that's like, hey, I hear you have access to this weird ability to fight people with devil fruit powers. And he's like, yes, it is called hockey. And then Crocodile would be, like, training out in the mountains for, like, you know, decades or whatever, and just like, all right, I'm ready. And he could have done that, but he didn't. He's like, no, yes, I will build up. It's sort of like procrastination a little bit. It's just like, yeah, I know I have to mow the grass, but first, I'm going to go work on that novel I've been writing. You know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, that grass is still growing. Nah, if I just work on this novel long enough, the grass will cut itself. You know, when I finish the novel, I will sell the novel, and then the money that I make from the novel, I could pay someone to mow the grass. There we go. Yes, that's how it works. So that was Crocodile a little bit there. Then we have, well, Moria is the perfect example of this. Moria, I don't even really need to go into his story, right? Same kind of thing with Crocodile. Went out into the sea, very motivated, wanted to find the One Piece, got the shit beat out of him by a Yonko. In this case, it was Kaido. And then instead of, you know, kind of the same thing with Crocodile, actually. A lot of parallels here, honestly. He didn't build up a criminal organization. I'm just going to make a bunch of zombies and then have a zombie island. And once again, the idea was, I'm going to build up zombies on Thriller Bark and then conquer the new world. But no matter how many zombies, he'd been doing this for like 10 years. And it's like, Mr. Moria, are we going into the new world yet? And he's like, nah, not yet. I'm tired. I'll do it tomorrow. But you said that yesterday, and the day before that, and the day before that, and the year before that. He's like, yeah, I'll get to it. Stop it. You know? It's losing your motivation, losing the spark in your soul that does it. The Straw Hats have never lost that spark. Many people might say it's like an age thing, because the Straw Hats are relatively young. You know, Luffy's he was only 17 years old when he went out to sea. You know, Zoro and Sanji, when they were introduced, were 19 years old. Nami was 18, Chopper was 15. So it's like they have potential because of that. You know, it's like, oh well, you know, Crocodile, he's in his like 40s. You know, you can't get stronger when you're in your 40s. He's already squandered his youth, as Might Guy would say. The fires of youth burn hot, you know, something like that, right? And yeah, that is sure a factor, but I don't think that's as much of a factor as you think. I feel like it's the same thing with the Straw Hats, even with their potential, right? If they would have gotten complacent at a certain point, if after the events of Sabaody Archipelago, where all the Straw Hats were separated, if Luffy just gave up and was just like gonna stay on Sabaody as like a homeless man or something like that, he wouldn't have unlocked Gear 4th, he wouldn't have gotten stronger, certainly not Gear 5th. He would have been tough, he would have been a strong guy you don't want to mess with, but he would have fallen into that same kind of mire as like Crocodile or Moria did or Buggy did, okay? It's the idea to pick yourself back up after you've had a devastating loss. Crocodile suffered a loss by Whitebeard, and then he kind of just like retreated. Moria suffered a loss from Kaido, and then he retreated to Thriller Bark, and he like shut himself off and surrounded him with corpses. Then you have Buggy, who was betrayed by Shanks, and then he's like, no, okay, I'm not gonna do this then without Shanks, there's no point, you know? So it's that kind of stuff. Luffy and the rest of the Strides, and Luffy was at a moment where he almost gave up hope. Honestly, he was. After the events of Marineford, where he lost Ace, he really felt like he was just done with everything. And you know the person that brought him out of that stupor? That was Jinbei. So Jinbei is a real friend, a true blue friend, in more ways than one, because he's literally blue. But like, no, Jinbei deserves some serious accolades for that, because Jinbei was the one that picked Luffy up, and he's just like, no, you still have people that care about you, your crew. Did you forget about them? And Luffy's like, yes, I know, my crew. And I think that gave Luffy the motivation to get back up. And then when Rayleigh arrived and was just like, hey, you want to come train with me? Luffy was like, yeah, sure, let's do this. Okay, we can make it work. I might have lost my brother, but there's other things I can do here, okay? So yeah, if Jinbei wasn't there to rise Luffy out of his stupor, who knows? Like, Rayleigh might have showed up and like, Luffy, do you want to train? And Luffy's like, there's no point. I'm so weak. I'm never gonna get strong. I couldn't even save my brother. I could train every day until the end of time. It doesn't matter. Once you've given up, you will get weaker. You will not get stronger, okay? You gotta get moving. And actually, you know what? That just reminded me of a song lyric. I think that works perfectly for this. So I'm a big fan of Panic at the Disco, and in their last album, which was actually their last album because the band broke up, so R.I.P., end of an era. But anyway, in the song Do It to Death, there's a lyric of, you know, growing older happens so fast, nothing's gonna happen if you sit on your ass. All right, it's like, you know, step on the gas, you know, like that's kind of what you have to do. And that's what Luffy does. Luffy steps on the gas all the time. He's just like, all right, let's go. Getting stronger, getting more powerful, you know, all that kind of jazz, okay? And so, if you want an explanation on, like, hey, pre-time skip Luffy was able to beat the crap out of Crocodile, and now Crocodile's back with, like, almost a 2 billion berry bounty, like, what is that? That's insane. That can't happen. How does that work? It's like, well, first of all, Crocodile was in prison for a little while, so he maybe got those prison gains, but also, beyond that, it's been 2 years. The Straw Hats got absurdly powerful in 2 years. What, Crocodile can't do the same? Bullshit. Why? Because Crocodile was in his 40s. You know, Luffy was 17 when he started training with Rayleigh, and now he's 19 and he's got Gear 4th. That makes sense. But Crocodile, man, he's already a crusty old man. He might as well just, you know, check himself into the nursing home. He's in his mid-40s, for God's sake. It's like, no. In fact, I think that's also an idea that Oda's kind of trying to spin in One Piece. Like, it's never too late. Same thing with Moria, same thing with Buggy, same thing with Crocodile. It's never too late to pick yourself back up and then just get out of that stupor. It doesn't matter. You could have been in that stupor for a month or a year or 10 years. But it's like, no, this is the moment where I remember that spark. I reignite the pilot light in my soul. Man, I should write a song, damn. I reignite the pilot light in my soul. No, but Crocodile did it. I think Buggy helped him find it. I think he really did. But then, yeah, Crocodile, in the last 2 years, he's been training. He's been getting stronger. Same thing with Mr. One Daz Bones, okay? If Zoro can get crazy breakneck stronger in 2 years, and the same thing with Daz Bones, it applies to everybody. It applies to a lot of characters in One Piece. You know what? It even applies to Foxy. Screw it, sure. If Foxy really applied himself in the last 2 years and really trained, and he shows back up in the story, but he's actually taken as like a serious threat, you know what? I would be okay with that if Foxy found his motivation to get stronger, okay? But that's what you gotta have, all right? Kaido's story was a little different because Kaido had already risen to the rank of Yonko. He had, like, in Kaido's perspective, he's just like, I already beat the game. You know, I kind of already beat the game. Yeah, there's that extra bonus level. There's that bonus stage where I could go get the One Piece, but, I already beat the game. I could just have this now. You know what I mean? So there was like a little bit, it's similar, but a little bit different there. You know, because Kaido was not beaten down by someone stronger and then retreated. Kaido had just kind of built up his empire and then reached the Yonko level, which for most pirates, I would imagine, is enough. All right? The One Piece was viewed as like this mythical thing that you couldn't really get your hands on, okay? And so, yeah. But yeah, and then, you know what? Even Mihawk to an extent. Even Mihawk. Mihawk's story is more similar to Kaido's. Where Mihawk, to the point, because Mihawk's not really interested in the One Piece. I don't think he is. Buggy did that whole speech of like, don't you remember when you wanted to go get the One Piece? That resonated with Crocodile way more than it did with Mihawk. Mihawk was probably just like, I don't care about the One Piece. I just want to fight strong swordsmen, okay? And so, what did Mihawk do? I mean, yeah, he would go out and, like, you know, I want to go challenge strong swordsmen and stuff, but a lot of times he would just, like, hang out in his castle, his dark, lonely, empty castle, pour some wine, and just, what should I do today? I guess I could go and see if there's any strong swordsmen. There's like swordsman Tinder. There's like, you know, Mihawk takes out his phone. He's just like, well, I guess I could check my sword fighting page and like the app to you know, there's strong swordsmen in my area. Let's see if there's anybody here. No, swipe left, swipe left, swipe left. Yeah, that's not working for me. Okay. You know, like that's kind of Mihawk. I would imagine Mihawk maybe got a little bored, and even when the Marines showed up at his front door, Mihawk, he cracked a smile. He's like, been a while since I picked up the old Marine Hunter mantle. All right, this could be fun. You know, like, so that's like a running theme in One Piece. You got to keep an eye out for that, okay? But yeah, Crocodile being stronger. Oh, and also, as a side note, like, when Crocodile became a warlord, his bounty was frozen. Same thing with Boa, same thing with Moria. So, the idea, like Crocodile's true bounty, if it's scaled with, like, his threat, because it was, like, what, like 81 million when it was frozen, and that might have been, like, 20 years ago when that happened, right? So, obviously, it's, you know, by the time he was even in charge of Baroque works, I don't think he's as strong as he could have been, because he didn't know hockey or anything. But what would have Crocodile's bounty have been appropriately during Alabasta? Because I think it would have been maybe because they gave Luffy, well, they gave Luffy 100 million after, but they also kind of had to cover that up, like Luffy wasn't the one that really defeated Crocodile. I feel like Crocodile's bounty at that point should have been higher than 100 million. You know, and then what would his bounty have been after he broke out of Impel Down, which that's probably when his bounty was reactivated. We just never saw it. And now his current bounty is like 1.9 billion or something like that. But if the threat that he poses, and obviously bounty is not purely about physical strength, but Crocodile has gotten physically stronger. Mr. One has gotten physically stronger. Even Buggy, not on the same level, obviously, but Buggy is also a little, he's stronger than he was during East Blue. At least give him that much, right? But yeah, it's all about that motivation, that ambition, that which exemplifies hockey, and the spirit of the Straw Hats that never gives up and keeps moving forward. Advance. All right. That's a video. That's a good place to end it. We will start Zebra Facts soon. Thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Tekking signing out. Later, everyone.